This is it. This is the big one. Manchester United facing Manchester City in the Charity Shield, or the Community Shield, as anyone under the age of 40 probably calls it. Joining me, as always, is my good friend Joe Smith.
Yeah.
How are we doing?
I'm good. I'm very good. Football, eh?
Soccer, as they called it in the US, where we've just been.
I think it's proper. This. I like the Charity Shield. I think it's a good little game, a good day for everyone. Obviously, it doesn't mean anything, but I think it feels like more than just a friendly, which I'm sure we'll get to.
We'll get into the importance of the game a little bit later on. Before we do any of that, though, I want you to do me a favour. Get your phone out, right? Film yourself in landscape and send a score prediction, I should say, to paddockmatchday@gmail.com, and we'll use that as part of our pre-match build-up. Let's talk about injuries before we go anywhere. Because Manchester United, despite the fact the season hasn't started...
It's happening again, Jay.
We're in an injury crisis.
Yeah.
I mean, we was in the SoFi Stadium in LA.
SoFi, so good.
SoFi, so... shit.
Nice.
Forgive me for swearing.
Really good.
Yeah, thank you. I've been working on that one. Where we saw Rasmus Højlund get injured and Lenny Yoro. And I think you pointed out at the time, and I do like to quote you sometimes because now and again you say something quite insightful. You said you don't want to see any players getting injured, but those are probably the two that you want to see get injured the least, because you've got our striker, our only really striker, I know we brought in Joshua Zirkzee, but our main striker, I should say, and Lenny Yoro, who's a new signing. You want to see what he's about, and they both got injured, and Lenny Yoro was out for 3 months. Plus, we've had this with the manager where he's been a bit vague on just how ready Luke Shaw is, which has sent everyone into a meltdown. And we've also got doubts over the likes of Maguire and Lindelof, I think. We've already got missing players that I've mentioned. I mean, how worried are you about the fact we've got injuries, not just for this game, but going in potentially to the new season proper?
I don't know when it's going to change. That's the thing that's worrying me. When are we going to stop having all these injuries? Because we keep bringing in new staff, new coaches, new physios. We've had a review of our practices. We're looking at Carrington. We're looking at and it just keeps happening. And I know you can't just blame it on the staff, and some of it's just, the odds of playing football, people are going to get injured. But I do think that it seems particularly severe at the minute, and has been for 12 months or so. Maguire being injured when he wasn't injured in his whole career until he was about 29. And then in the last sort of 6 months, he's become really injury prone all of a sudden. Do you remember he played 40 odd games in a row for United? He played every minute of a Premier League season for us when he first arrived. And now he can't stay fit. Wan-Bissaka was fine the other day and now isn't fine. Lindelof hasn't barely even played, so how's he got injured? Obviously, I know that's not how it works, but it feels like that. Luke Shaw was injured for 5 months. Then he comes back, plays 2 games for England in the Euros, including the final. Played, was it all of the final? Certainly most of it. And then all of a sudden, 3 weeks later, despite not having been at training, is now not fit again. I don't understand that. What's he getting injured on the way to the shops? Getting injured putting his socks on at home? I know it may be a match fitness thing rather than an injury thing, but Bruno Fernandes came back to training last week. I think Kobe Mainoo came back to training last week. They're ready. Luke Shaw played in that final that Mainoo did. Presumably he was match fit then because he played. How are you less match fit now than you were when you just come back from your injury? So I don't quite understand how we are in this place we are with Luke Shaw, and it obviously brings the bigger question about how fit he's been. I think he's missed pretty much half the games since he joined United, which is somewhere in the region of 250 odd games, which is like a career's worth at a top club. So there's always going to be that question around him. We haven't got another left back. We are in a position where the defence once again is pretty shambolic, but hopefully we can get some of these players back, and over the 12 months of the season, I know the season's less than that, but between now and next pre-season, we can have had a lot less injuries than last year. It's just started with a big cluster at the start again, and it feels like we never got any better. But it's a longer term thing than just the first game of the season. So we'll have to remain positive, but it just feels shit at the minute, doesn't it?
It does, and they need to address it. And we don't know. Luke Shaw might even play in the Community Shield, but it is annoying that he doesn't seem to be match fit after everything that's gone on. And I always think with Luke Shaw is the trouble we've had with United. I think ever since Fergie retired, we've been on our day FC. Every player we've had, almost on his day, is mint. Like on his day, Anthony Martial is unreal. On his day, Paul Pogba's the best player on the planet, almost literally. On his day, Luke Shaw's great, but he's injured all the time. He's not on his day, is he? And that's the issue you've got. And it's just, if we are going to move forward as a football club, we need to sort of, I'm not saying just drop players, but we need to get players in that are fit and play consistently and then have them challenging for places, because we've got too many players who are either inconsistent or injured. And that's where we ended up in a position where we finished 8th last season, because whilst winning the FA Cup was amazing and one of my best days ever was in that final, the quarter-final weren't far behind it, we're never going to challenge for a title if we're just on our day or on his day FC. That's not going to happen. You win trophies like that because on your day you can beat Man City, and we did in the final. But you don't win a league because over 38 games you've got players that miss 20 of them, which just isn't good enough. So it's something that United need to address, and we need to address it quickly, or me and you are going to be sat here in 10 years' time saying the same old things about, on our day we're great. Let's talk about the importance of this game then. It is a friendly. However, Jose Mourinho was in Stockholm giving it all out, wasn't he? When we'd won it as part of the treble, the reduced to clear treble. Yeah. Then you also had David Moyes won it, which for me means it's not a trophy, because I refuse to accept the fact that David Moyes won a trophy at Manchester United. Where do you stand on the Charity Shield or the Community Shield? Is it a trophy? Is it important, or is it just a friendly?
It's more. It's in between the two. It's not a trophy.
No.
So we're not touching the trophy line.
If that's a trophy, then the Bangkok Century Cup and the Snapdragon Trophy are trophies.
Yeah, I think it's sort of more than that, but it's not a trophy. But it is more than a friendly. It's not. It's going to be played at a higher pace than United versus Betis was, or I think any of the friendlies United have had. I think everyone sees it as this is like almost like the semi-final for the 100 metres final, to use an Olympics analogy. Yes, you're not winning any medals here, but if you put in a shit performance, that probably will affect you going forward. If United are utterly terrible and we look way off it, that's a good indicator that first game of the season we probably aren't going to be ready. Whereas if you see a well-structured, confident performance, like I said, David Moyes won it, and that went absolutely pear-shaped after that. So it doesn't guarantee anything, but it certainly gives you a better idea of where you're at for the season. And it is, whether you like it or not, or whether you sort of accept it or not, a bit of silverware being presented on the pitch at Wembley, and that's always something you'd rather win than not. So for me, we can't take it too lightly. It's a good show for a lot of people who want to start the season and keep their place. People like Harry Amas, people like Joshua Zirkzee, people like Ahmad, who we all forget, or we don't all forget, but it's easy to forget, barely played last season. No. He's been one of the stars of pre-season, but it'll only take 2 bad games before Garnacho starts every week again. So I think people like that have got a big chance to prove themselves and really get into the squad here. And I think for that reason, it is more than a friendly. Not quite a trophy. I'm not going to be walking around like that if we win the Carabao and the Europa this season again, like Jose did. But I really want to win this.
No, I listen. The thing that changes it for me, or gives it a little bit more importance, is the fact it's against Manchester City. Yeah. And I think if you get a result against Manchester City, it's always going to mean something. As a fan, it will do, because it's the derby, obviously. And just, in football terms, it's like, okay, you beat the Premier League champions, you beat Manchester City, who are not just the Premier League champions. Let's not forget they've won 4 in a row, albeit with 115 charges hanging over their head. So there's a sort of pedigree there, and a certain stature. Yeah. So I understand all that, but listen, I my first trip to Wembley was to watch the Charity Shield, as it was called then. We beat Arsenal on penalties, and that was the first one where at the end of it you didn't share it if you drew. Oh. They had penalties, because normally you'd share it. Because I remember in '99,
charity, innit?
Yeah, we drew with Liverpool and we shared it. So that goes to show you the level of the competition. Yeah. Oh, everyone's a winner. That's nice. It's not that deep, but you always want to beat Man City, and I think it'll rattle them a little bit if they've lost back-to-back games at Wembley against us. Yeah. With all that being said, let's talk about your predicted 11 then. Give us the team you think Erik ten Hag will pick for this game.
So, we've got the graphic. Right, here's my team then. So, it kind of, a lot of it picks itself, I think. Onana, obviously, is first choice keeper. I think the back 4 is sort of all we've got. Yeah. Really, supposedly 3 fit first choice defenders, which are Dalot, Evans and Martinez, and then Amas is the other one, because who else are you going to play at left back, because all of our left backs are completely injured. Then you've got Mainu, Casemiro and Fernandes. Again, I don't really see an alternative here. I don't know what your team is, so it'd be nice to maybe see a bit of variation in there, but I can't see how. Maybe Mason Mount you could stick in there, because he's done a little bit on the tour, hasn't he? And then up front, Rashford, Ahmad, I think both have to start from their performances in pre-season. And we ain't got any other strikers, so it's got to be Joshua Zirkzee. Sancho hasn't done enough for me to be starting this game. And I think we all want to see Zirkzee. So I think we kind of have to go with most of that team, don't we? What's yours look like?
Mine's very similar, but it is different. If you can go to mine, so you can see here, I've gone with a sort of almost carbon copy of the FA Cup final team. But obviously, there's some slight changes because of the injuries. Yeah. So Varane's not there, so you've got Johnny Evans coming in, and Harry Hamas has come in on the left-hand side, where I've moved the low over to the right-hand side. But in terms of midfield, we've got no Amrabat, so Casemiro's come in, McTominay's still in there, Mainoo's in there, Fernandes in there as like a false nine, and then you've got Rashford and Garnacho on the wings. I think that might work, and he might look at that and go, okay, what's the closest I can get to the team that I used for the FA Cup final? That's what I'll do. So there's some slight changes there. The one player I'm interested to watch the most out of all of them, and I get your point about Amad Diallo, and I've got no qualms if he starts, and Harry Hamas, I know he's only 17, but he did quite well in pre-season, and it needs must. I'm interested to see Casemiro. What is he about against Manchester City? Because we saw him in pre-season where it was the rough with a smooth, wasn't it? It was, at one point he looked quite good, and he looked like he's lost a little bit of timber, which he needed to. He looked, almost like Casemiro of old. And then at other points in those friendlies, he looked like he'd won a competition to play for Manchester United. Because he's one of those players that when he's bad, he's shocking. Yeah. And when he's good, he's unreal. So it'll be interesting to see if he is, going to be used this season. Has he got anything left in the tank? And I think a good sort of way to see that will be on the pitch at Wembley, that massive pitch, against a team like Manchester City. Because whoever City field, they're going to be good players, aren't they? They've not got any duffers, unfortunately. So, he's the one player I'm keeping an eye on. Let us know your predicted 11. Get involved in the comments. Talking to the opposition, Manchester City, they're sort of going into the season potentially ready to win 5 in a row, which sickens me.
We can't let that happen, surely.
Well, no, we can't, but we might have to.
But we might anyway.
Been saying that for the last 4 years. When you look at this City team, they've not gone turbo in the transfer market. They've got a lot of money for Julian Alvarez, but they've still got a good team. Me and you were chatting on the way down here with Stephen Howson, and you were saying that you think they might have sort of let it slip a little bit if they don't strengthen, because you strengthen when you're strong, and that's what keeps you winning.
They need to do some more than they have. I mean, obviously, I don't want them to, but I'm not particularly enamoured by what City are looking like so far. I know the results in pre-season haven't been very good, but who cares about that? But in terms of the squad,
they brought in that kid in it. Is it
Savio?
Yeah, Savio.
Yeah, they got him in, who looks like a decent player. But I think they could do with a central midfielder. I think Kovacic was a decent purchase, but doesn't do what Gundogan does and isn't a real top level player. Kevin De Bruyne has passed his best, unquestionably. I think that you look at Bernardo Silva, he's kind of been up for leaving for the last 3 or 4 years, and he's looks like he'll stick around, but I don't know how much how much fire can be left in him with everything he's won, and the fact that he's probably wanted to go to Barcelona most of his life anyway. I just think that they're not quite there. I don't know. I think there's a chance this season for someone to come in and get them. Whether it's Arsenal, I don't see United being at that level, unfortunately. Whether it's a surprise from like a Tottenham or a Liverpool or something. But I can't see another 90-plus point season from City this year, as things stand. If they get another attacker, maybe a centre-back and a centre midfielder, then things will obviously be different. But from the squad that I'm seeing of theirs, I think they're worse than they have been for the last 4 or 5 seasons. I don't think that this is a particularly good Man City side, and they haven't strengthened. I wonder if part of them, and this was one thing you mentioned when we were talking before, maybe they're a bit worried about, all the rules and stuff, the 115 charges. Maybe they're playing it a little bit closer, a little bit cooler than they have been, because they do think, actually, there's a chance that we might be struggling here over the next few years in terms of repercussions, in terms of all that. We need a bit more of a clean slate, and we can't afford to do what we have been doing. But I just don't. They could easily beat us, and they probably will. But I don't think they're going to be quite the outfit we've seen over the last few years. I think there's a chance for someone else to win it this year, a big chance.
I get your point about maybe the sort of being a bit more careful, whatever. Well, that's a bit like, I'm going to stop killing people now.
No, it's too late for them.
Like, do you know what I mean?
But when the charges hit 23, 24, maybe they'll go, all clean. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's done by year, isn't it?
Maybe, yeah. We'll see. Maybe. I think the trouble as well, when you get to City's level, unfortunately, there's only a certain standard of play that you'd want to bring in as well, and I think that maybe there's still things in the pipeline where they're looking at players where they go, okay, we're not going to just go out and get, for example, United have been linked with Sander Berge we might not get him. City won't go for someone like him. And
I get that.
You wouldn't expect to. So they might be looking at going, okay, we brought in one guy. There's a couple of others there. We really have to. We can't get them. We won't get anyone. We'll promote from the youth because they've still got a decent youth team. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. With all that being said, give us your score prediction.
I think it's going to be close. I think just because a lot of our top players haven't played at all yet. Bruno, Mainu, I know Shaw's not going to be back, or he might be, but not quite right. Dallo as well. Martinez hasn't been back. Garnacho hasn't been back. Xerxes never played for us. I think we probably will struggle to put it all together, but I think we can sneak a draw, maybe lose on penalties. So I'm going to say 1-1, and then unfortunately City win on penalties. What are you saying?
Jesus, man. Seriously, call yourself a United fan. How dare you give an accurate prediction?
An honest
prediction. No, I'm not. No, United are going to win.
Are they?
Obviously. Right. Who won the last time we played each other?
United.
And where was that?
Earth.
Yeah, more specifically. What part of it?
England, then.
What part of England? London. What part of London? Wembley. What part of Wembley?
Wembley
the stadium. There you go,
Very
you see.
good.
So, ergo facto and all that, United are going to win. Yes. What was the score last time we played them? So there you go.
Same again.
Who's going to score?
Mainu.
And Garnacho.
Yeah.
You've nailed it. Thank you.
Nice, I love that.
Easy. It's easy, this prediction. Like, it's that easy. You need to send us yours. Don't forget to send us your score predictions at paddockmatchday@gmail.com. Myself and Joseph are going to be back for the watch along. So make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. You can go and find him as well.
It'll be nice, that.
It will be nice, won't it? Nice bit of, do you know what I mean? Relaxed, friendly.
Me and you time.
Watching a game that is only important if you win.
Yes.
Those are the best type of games, aren't they? So go and check him out on Sloppy Joe's. Make sure you are subscribing to the channel as well. That's me, Joe Smith. I'm Jay Motty. This has been a preview for the Community Shield. Thanks for watching.